A beloved grandmother is murdered in her quiet Utah home. There's no sign of a break-in. There's no suspects and no answers for decades. And then, hundreds of miles away, a church volunteer shows up at a house to deliver food. And she walks straight into a trap. 2 women, 2 brutal crimes. The connection? A twisted killer and a single Lego that will help bring it all together. Let's recap. A daughter walks into her mother's home and finds something no one should ever see. It's February 1991. Lucille Johnson is a widow. She's a mother of 4 and she's got 21 grandkids and 4 great-grandkids. She lives alone in the quiet town of Holiday, Utah, just outside Salt Lake City. But she's not the type to sit still. Lucille's active in just about every local club you can think of. And if you're sick or you're stuck in the hospital, she's the one showing up with a hot meal and a warm smile. So just one day earlier, neighbors saw her outside sweeping her porch, keeping things tidy like she does. But when her family can't reach her the next day, her daughter goes to check on her. She walks in and sees her 78-year-old mother in bed with a pillow over her face. But this was no peaceful death. Her skull is cracked. Her ribs, all 24 of them, are broken. Her body is covered in wounds. The medical examiner says she was strangled and beaten to death. There are no signs of forced entry. The doors are locked. Investigators are baffled. There doesn't seem to be a clue as to who might have done this. But then they spot Legos on the living room floor and in the entryway and even out in the driveway. It's weird. She had those Legos because of all of her grandkids and great-grandkids coming over to play. But it's not like Lucille to leave them messy, especially if the grandkids had visited. She would have cleaned them up. So detectives collect the Legos as evidence. And then they notice something else. Lucille's favorite ring and necklace are gone. This is jewelry she never takes off. So is this just a robbery? But the Legos are a really weird detail. So detectives dig deep. They're chasing every lead, but nothing sticks. There's no suspects, no motive. And by 2006, the case goes cold. But here's what no one knew back then. Lucille Johnson is an early victim of John Sansing, one of the most cold-blooded killers you've never heard of. And in the end, it's not a witness or a confession that cracks her case. It's one of those Legos. But we're not quite there yet. So by 1998, John Sansing is living in Arizona with his wife and their 4 kids, like from 9 to 12. They're young. On the outside, he looks like just another struggling dad, but behind the scenes, he's hooked on crack and funding his habit by any means necessary. And then he gets an idea. There's a local church nearby with a Good Samaritan program. They deliver food baskets to local families in need, and all you have to do is call. So John thinks, why go out looking for a victim when I can have one come straight to my door? So when 41-year-old Elizabeth Calabrese shows up with 2 boxes of food, just trying to help because she's an amazing person, she has no clue she's walking into a trap. Now, at first, everything seems normal. Elizabeth steps inside. She chats with John's wife. She's waiting while John pretends to look for a pen to sign for the food delivery. But then, out of nowhere, he grabs her from behind and slams her to the dining room floor. What happens next is sickening. With his wife's help and his 4 little kids watching, John ties Elizabeth's wrists together and ties her legs to this chair. She starts praying out loud. She's like, Lord, please help me. I don't want to die, but if this is the way you want me to come home, I'm ready. She begs the kids to call the police. Again and again, she begs them. But John turns to them and says, shut up, go watch TV. And they do. So with them out of the way, he grabs a club, a wooden club, and hits Elizabeth over the head so hard it snaps in 2. She falls unconscious. Then he goes out and moves her car to a parking lot kind of nearby. When he comes back, he drags her into a bedroom and sexually assaults her. She is conscious for this. And then John stabs her with a kitchen knife over and over in the stomach. And then he covers her head with plastic bags, tying them in place with a necktie and some cords, making sure she's not coming back. And then he takes her jewelry and her wallet. She only has $1.25 on her. And he leaves her body in the bedroom covered with a pile of laundry, and he just walks away. A few hours later, he's back to business. He calls up a dealer and trades her rings for crack. Not long after that, he does it again. This time he trades her necklace for more drugs. Later that night, the pastor from the church calls the Sansing home looking for Elizabeth. It's like, she never came back. John picks up and he lies. He tells the pastor she never showed up. And he even gives him a fake address. Then he tries to cover his tracks further. He drags her body out of the bedroom to the backyard, and he hides her in the narrow space between the shed and the fence. And he just covers her with old carpet, debris, just like garbage. At least 3 of his 4 kids see her body back there behind the shed. The next day, searchers find her truck. Like I said, he didn't park it that far from their home. Inside, they find a piece of paper with the Sansing family's real address. So police head straight to their house, and that's where they find Elizabeth Calabrese murdered and hidden behind the shed. John and his wife both plead guilty. She gets 25 years. He gets death row. But we both know that the death penalty doesn't happen overnight. It's this long, slow process, decades long, filled with appeals and legal red tape. Now, as of 2025, he's still alive, but he's out of appeals, so he's on borrowed time. And when his number is finally called, there will be one more victim's family getting closure, Lucille Johnson's. Now, here's how they finally connected him to her murder. In 2014, detectives reopened her case after getting a surprising tip from John Sansing's own nephew. He told them he heard John's wife threaten to go to the police a few times, saying she knew he'd killed an elderly woman in Utah years ago. Obviously, this is before he killed the other woman in Arizona. So when police pulled the old case file and tested fingerprints from the Legos found in Lucille's house, they came back with a match to one of John's sons. He was just 5 years old at the time. Her family had always said that she wouldn't have let a stranger into her house, unless maybe that stranger had a child with them. While his son played with Legos in the living room, John Sansing was in the back of the house, bludgeoning Lucille Johnson to death. And when they tested scrapings from under her fingernails, they got a hit. John Sansing. It took DNA, a Lego, and a tip from inside his own family to finally solve her murder. Now, do you think most cold cases can be solved with today's technology? Or, are some killers just too good at hiding? Share your take in the comments. And if you like getting all the crime in half the time, I'm Amy. Chris and I are here with new recaps 3 times a week. And remember to subscribe so you never miss a story. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Till next time, take care.